Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Story Time with Miss Wade. Today we are going to be looking at our wonderful textbook, which is called Understanding Rhetoric by Liz Losh and Jonathan Alexander. Now for today, you guys had to read issue 1 of Understanding Rhetoric. And the reason that I bring up this lovely issue and have an entire module just dedicated to this one chapter is because it is the entire backbone of our upcoming assignment called Rhetorical Superheroes. And surprise, surprise, this chapter is all about, yep, you guessed it, rhetoric. So today we're going to begin our story in Greece, 427, actually maybe like somewhere in between there, BCE, where we meet a wonderful guy named Plato. And Plato says, y'all, because he said y'all, because he was Greek. He said, y'all, rhetoric is whack. I don't think we should be using it. And then we meet this guy named Aristotle. And Aristotle says, y'all, because that's what they say in Greece. He said, y'all, rhetoric is actually the thing we need to communicate in the world. And then they fight for a little bit. Plato says, no, Aristotle. Aristotle says, no, Plato. And then eventually they die because they're not here anymore. So they're dead. But they did talk about rhetoric and whether or not it was useful to society. And the rest of this lovely chapter talks about all the great uses that rhetoric has given us since those two hashed it out and died, and now we're here in 2020 still talking about what they did, which is great. So today I'm going to tell you why we still focus on something that is thousands upon thousands of years old with two men that are dead and have been dead for a long, long time. The reason we still focus on these rhetorical appeals, which were named as ethos, logos, pathos, and a new term called kairos, which you might not have heard of, but if not, that's okay. We're going to go through it anyway. We learned that these terms are a lot more than just, the shallow definitions that sometimes they're given. There's ways that, as I think it's Liz that puts it, there's ways that you can set out rhetoric or set rhetoric upon the world. Rhetoric is not just something that we learn in English class and then it goes away. For some people, that might be what happens, but I encourage you to think of it as something completely different, something that can manifest in your daily life every single day. Another reason that we think this is so important is because it is such an important concept to understand communication. So we've talked about ethos, pathos, and logos on Monday in class. We even went through kairos, even though that's probably a little something that's new to you. Kairos, to break it down a little bit more, is understanding an opportunity for an argument or understanding the timing of an argument. For example, you wouldn't ask me for an extension on a paper the night before it's due, and you would not email me saying, oh, Miss Williams, I need an extension because I've just slept all day and didn't do my work. So kairos is the relevancy and the timing of an argument that you need. So if you want an extension, more than likely, you're going to email me 48 hours before the due date because that's when I specified, I would need to know about extensions. Another example would be, ask your parents for money and you say, dear mom and dad, dear grandma, grandpa, dear oh divine caretaker, I need some money. Will you please help me out? You're going to say that, but you're not going to say that after they've had a really long day at work, or perhaps they have had something terrible happen. You have to make sure that the timing is really key. Like maybe you went home and washed all the dishes in the house. Cleaned up all the house, washed a car. That's the opportune time to ask them for money, especially if you spend it all on like candy or Pokemon cards or something like that. Just kidding. Pokemon is essential. Go buy your Pokemon cards if that's what you want. So that's kairos. But more importantly than just understanding the rhetorical elements, this chapter gives us an idea of how to apply them to our outside contexts. It also gives us an idea of how to logically construct arguments, or in this case, we're in ancient Greece, so we're thinking about orating and speeches. And even though we aren't necessarily memorizing speeches anymore, on page 55, it talks about a really cool structure, thinking of your paper as a room or rooms in a house. And so how does that connect each room, and how do you move through the house, and what's the best way for the audience to move through the house? You have to think of those things, and this chapter helps us do that, which will be really important for our next assignment, which is rhetorical superheroes. So I encourage you to give that a look. I think the graphic should be somewhere. So I encourage you to give that a look. And last but not least, this chapter does a really excellent job of giving you questions that then will allow you to look for rhetoric in the writing that you are currently analyzing, especially as we move into looking for our rhetorical superheroes. You'll be looking at their text, you'll be looking at their speeches, you'll be looking at even their actions. Lots of things are rhetorical. So as you look at those things for this rhetorical superhero, you're going to want to ask yourself some questions. And thankfully, on page 61, I believe, is a nice guide to what questions you should be asking yourself. So you want to ask yourself, who is the intended audience for a text? What is the purpose of this text? Does the author seem credible? Why or why not? What is your gut reaction to the text? What emotions does it evoke? How are the elements arranged or organized? Why does the arrangement seem logical? There's your logos. And when or where was the text written? Was it timely given this context? Why or why not? Lots of questions, I know, but these are really important, and I want you, as you are considering who your rhetorical superhero you want them to be, I would consider keeping those questions tucked in your mind consistently. They're going to help you a lot. So for today's module 5, I would like for you to pick any text you want. It can be an article, it can be something you have written, it can be a blog, even somebody's Twitter page. You can analyze the tweets on there just to see what rhetoric is used in Twitter tweets, because it's all about digital this year, right? So look at those. One instance of an article where you can find rhetoric. It shouldn't be hard because rhetoric is everywhere. And I want you to apply these 6 questions to that article or journal, blog, whatever you want. Apply these 6 questions and submit them to our module 5. And I think you'll notice that rhetoric is in everything. And as we kind of talked about on Monday, those rhetorical appeals, all 4 of them, start to kind of mesh together because they all work together. You can't have one without the other. And if you feel like one is weaker than the other, then you can talk about how that can be strengthened, or perhaps there's something that the article needs to consider. Maybe it's missing something. That's very possible too. So I encourage you to think about these things, not just for this module, because I do want you to think about them for this module, but for the upcoming assignment as well. Let me know if you have any questions or if you're having trouble locating all this. I know it might be a little bit tricky at first, but I totally believe you can do it. And all in due kairos, you will master the elements of rhetoric. Shout out to Avatar The Last Airbender for helping me teach this lesson on Monday. All right, thank you guys, and let me know if you need anything. Good luck, and I'm excited to see who you pick as your rhetorical superhero. It's going to be a fun next 4 weeks. 4 weeks. I think we're on this for 4 weeks. All right, later. Bye.